savor each minute. When she first comes to college, she meets her roommate Demetria Rosemead, or Dinky, who is also an incoming member of the Kappa sorority, and the two instantly become friends. She also claims that the people she makes in college will be her lifetime friends. Following this, Rachel Witchburn, the dictatorial president of the student council, is presented. Rachel routinely checks the website of her institution, which lists the cutest students there, and always finds herself at the top of the list. She also has a crush on Tyler, the head of a well-known fraternity. Since Tyler and Rachel's dads seem to have given the majority of the institution's finance, the management of the college accords them a bit more importance. Additionally, we discover that Tyler and Rachel are co-developing a project dubbed the Witchburn Prince Greek Life Center. It's a new fraternity building that was created only for the wealthy, but in order to achieve this, they want to destroy an old structure called the Vortex that is inhabited by the alleged dorks in society. Following scene, Sydney and Dinky go for the rush party as Tyler and his lads observe the freshman. One of the boys attempts to intimidate a freshman by hurling a ball at him, but Sydney catches it and is impressed. Tyler approaches her and introduces himself. He also shows Sydney and Dinky around the campus and talks about the different sororities. First, he talks about Gamma Phi, the cheerleaders, and then Pi Beta Omega, who can now party with any fraternity on campus. Next, he leads them to Kappa Phi Nu. In the meantime, Rachel, who also happens to be the leader of the Kappa sorority, observes the two of them together and develops an immediate dislike for Sydney. Sydney is left on her own to withstand the pledging when Katie and Christy, who also don't want her to be a Kappa, see her tomboyish conduct. Sydney also learns that Tyler will soon become a top litigator and Rachel will become a senator during the rush party. Rachel and her group rush into the room at midnight and wake up all the freshmen. Rachel also forbids them from changing their clothes, wearing makeup, brushing their teeth, or combing their hair. She also unintentionally encourages the other girls to reject Rachel's shallow teachings, which infuriates Rachel but leaves her powerless to intervene. In the meantime, Tyler becomes attracted to her and thinks she's cute and cool. She then gives them their first pledge task of finding a date and meeting her at the State Street Diner in 15 minutes. However, Lenny walks away, and in the following scene, Rachel declares that the pledging has ended and that the girls are now prepared to be introduced. Sydney's name appears on the unique dress that Rachel picks for the fortunate winner to receive the next day, but she is dismayed to see it there. Sydney then discovers the university's most popular website and discovers that she is rated 213th. The next day, as soon as Sydney enters the program, Tyler approaches her and compliments her appearance before inviting her to dance. Meanwhile, Rachel declares the girls as Kappa sisters and distributes their batches. But when it's Sydney's turn, Rachel makes up some stupid excuses and disqualifies her from being a Kappa sister. She also reveals to everyone what she came up with. One day she suggests that the Vortex requires substantial repairs, but the boys attempt to ignore her since they are terrified of Rachel. Sydney's name is listed second on the university's sexiest website, which irritates Rachel. Sydney gets a sign-up form for each of her 7 roommates the next day, encouraging them to complete it so they may vote. The dorks have misgivings, but Sydney persuades them to join by giving a motivational speech. Following this, the dummies start printing flyers and getting ready for the election. They set up their booth and tell everyone about their Terrence-led political campaign. The group's primary goal is to expel Rachel from the student council, even if they also want to alter other sororities and fix the Vortex. Tyler delivers flowers to her desk and asks her out on a date shortly after Dinky makes a visit to their booth and apologizes to Sydney while flirting with Lenny. Sydney seems indifferent with what Rachel says in the next scene, which takes place when Sydney is at the library. Sydney at first declines, but while Tyler sings in the library, she decides to go out with him. Later, Tyler picks her up and takes her to a place where he delivers meals to the needy. Sydney is impressed by Tyler's modest nature. He then takes her to a lovely area where they can enjoy their dinner while watching the sunset. When she returns from her date, her roommates had spied on her, so she punishes them by promising that she won't be telling them about her date elsewhere. To speak with Tyler, Rachel is in his room. Tyler ignores Rachel's warnings that Sydney is trying to defeat them in the election and tells her to go. Sydney and her roommates are watching television when they hear their group's announcement for the upcoming election as a competitor with the name Freedom to the Seventh Powers. Sydney and her group believe in accepting diversity and equality in contrast to Rachel's views, which promote elitism and exclusivism based solely on popularity and appearances. As a result, Sydney gains respect from a variety of cliques and is ranked first on the university's hottest website when the time comes to vote. The dorks are first bewildered since they have never been asked to a party, but after some persuasion, they accept. At the party, everyone has a fantastic time until Rachel exacts her vengeance by stripping the men nude, after which she tells Sydney She then discloses her and Tyler's collaborative plot to demolish the Vortex hearing, and that Terrence is merely here to learn more since he is ineligible to run for president because he graduated 6 years ago. Sydney is disappointed by this and leaves without giving Tyler a chance to explain. To make matters worse, the group learns that the Vortex has been declared off-limits by the City Board of Health. They become upset with Sydney and claim that their lives were better before she joined them. The following day, the dorks pack up their belongings and leave the location. In the meantime, Paul visits his daughter and, upon hearing her story, becomes extremely moved. Sydney returns the next day, revitalized, and urges her pals to run for office, despite the men's reluctance. Sydney ultimately convinces them by stating that they must put a stop to Rachel's oppressive leadership. As a result, the males get energized, and Sydney chooses to become the new president. The day before the election and debate, Rachel hires a hacker to delete all of Sydney's data from her laptop. Sydney initially freaks out, but quickly gathers her courage and decides to spend the entire night in the library redoing her work. In the morning, she finally completes the work, but due to extreme exhaustion, she falls asleep in the library. The viewers' members stand up one at a time, express their feelings, and demonstrate their pride in belonging to the group. Not only do her friends support her during the debate, but Kappa's sisters also support her, and they ultimately decide to remove Rachel from the student council despite Rachel's promise to dress everyone in designer clothing. Sydney's father and co-workers are there to help with the renovations as well. Lenny and Dinky start dating, Sydney and Tyler start dating, George is asked to buy a gorgeous cheerleader, and Terrence shows up in a new fancy car and shocks everyone by revealing that he sold his brilliant idea for $10 million. As Sydney's mother stated in the letter, she now has friends with whom she lives adorably ever after.